You know that feeling when something seems so broken, it feels like it's just beyond repair? Well, today we're going to dive into this powerful story from the Bible. It's about an entire nation that was completely off track and how one single decision led to its total restoration.
And honestly, everything we're about to unpack hinges on this one verse from 2 Chronicles 23:16. It says Jehoiada then made a covenant that he, the people, and the king would be the Lord's people. Now, this wasn't just some political agreement. No way. This was a spiritual revolution that was about to change the destiny of a nation.
So, to really grasp the weight of that covenant, we've got to rewind a bit and see just how bad things were in the nation of Judah. And believe me, the situation was dire. For 6 long years, the kingdom was ruled by a usurper queen, Athaliah. And under her, the nation's spiritual heart was just decaying. I mean, the temple of God itself was neglected, practically falling apart. Idols to the false god Baal were promoted everywhere, and the people, well, they had forgotten their identity. It was a true crisis of faith. But God hadn't forgotten his people. And right in the middle of all this darkness, a faithful priest named Jehoiada stepped up. And he didn't just have hope, he had a bold, meticulous plan to restore what had been so badly broken. Jehoiada's strategy was just brilliant. This wasn't a reckless power grab, it was a carefully orchestrated plan. Just look at the order. First, he secures the military's loyalty. Then, he gathers the spiritual and family leaders. And only then does he secure the temple itself. All of this before even revealing the rightful king. It was a brilliant, step-by-step path to restoration. And the plan worked perfectly. They brought out Joash, who, get this, was only 7 years old. They placed the crown on his head and anointed him as king. And for the first time in years, a cheer just erupts from the people as they celebrated their true leader. But you see, crowning the king was just the first step. The next action, well, that was the one that truly changed everything. It was the nation's real turning point. It wasn't just about switching out one ruler for another. That's just changing politics. So what was the real turning point? What was that foundational act that set the stage for true restoration? It was the covenant. Jehoiada led the new king and all the people in making a formal, binding agreement. And this was so much more than a promise. It was this profound declaration of their identity. They were all collectively deciding, together, we belong to the Lord. And here's the key lesson for all of us. Before any idols were torn down or worship was restored, the people had to make an internal decision. Real, lasting change doesn't start with our behavior, it starts in the heart. They had to choose who they would serve first. And once that foundational decision was made, the external changes started happening almost immediately. That choice to belong to the Lord just unleashed a powerful wave of transformation all across the land. The contrast is absolutely stunning. Before the covenant, you have a usurper queen ruling and the temple of Baal dominating the city. Immediately after, the queen is brought to justice, and all the people march to that temple and tear it down brick by brick. The change was immediate, and it was decisive. And the transformation just kept going. They smashed the remaining idols and altars. They reinstituted proper worship in God's temple. And the result? Joy throughout the city and peace in a land that had been in turmoil for years. This is the fruit of returning to God. Now, this isn't just a story from the Bible. It's a timeless roadmap for restoration, and it's just as relevant for us today as it was for them back then. So, how do we apply this to our own lives? What does it look like when we feel broken or distant or just in need of a fresh start? Well, it starts in the exact same place, with a decision. Just like the people of Judah, our first step is to declare our allegiance. It can be as simple as starting the day by saying, Lord, I belong to you. And then just letting that one decision shape all the others. It's all about asking him to renew your heart. After the decision, then comes the action. This means actively removing the idols in our own lives. Anything that pulls our hearts away from God. It means making worship a regular part of our lives. And then we get to watch with expectation as God begins to restore and rebuild the broken pieces. The beautiful truth at the heart of this entire story is that our God is a God of restoration. He doesn't just forgive, he rebuilds. He actually delights in taking what's been damaged, our peace, our purpose, our relationships, our spiritual life, and making it whole again. So the takeaway is simple but profound. The path to restoration always begins with a decision to return. When we choose to belong to Him, He begins the beautiful work of making us new.